being authentic. And so when you hear my poetry, you'll see that it's nothing like others. And so the first thing I wanted to tell you guys is really to be yourself at this most core of who you are. I think a lot of people are trying to do podcasting because other people have done it and they see their success and they see that they're doing well. But I really just want to tell you, before you do anything, it really has to be deep down in your soul. And you also have to do something called gift digging, right? And so when you're on this radio, when you're trying to market to people, are you truly talking about what you love and what you're passionate about? Because it'll come across, like she said, in the way you speak and the passion that you bring. And so I really wanted to get into that first before I get into my Be Yourself poem. Also, I wanted to talk to you about gift digging and what type of podcast you should be doing instead of the topics that you think are safe. And I always say this about my poetry as well, to be sure that it's okay to take a risk. It doesn't mean that you go off the deep end with your podcasting or whatever that you want to say, but just make sure that you do take a risk. Without risk taking, none of this matters, right? I mean, if you're going to play it safe, then you might as well stay home and, write to yourself. But if you really want to get that audience, the way I did, I captivated audiences about, I would say 2 years. I met you, Joe, 2 years?
2 years ago, yeah.
2 years ago. And it has taken off, and it's not because I play safe with my topics, but it's who I am. And I'm not afraid to speak who I am and my truth in front of other people. That's good? Let me see my next point. Oh, and your brand. One of the things is there's a podcast that I'm going on October 2nd, which is Head Nerds in Charge. And I really like it because the African American community has a sector called Black Nerds. A lot of people don't know this, but there is a whole sector of people who are nerdy who are Black. Is it okay? One of them right here? Let's go. Okay, good. Yes, give it up for them. We love anime. We love science. We love things that, unfortunately, America doesn't really promote. And so this podcast, I saw it and I said, I need to get on it. I need to get on it, and I had a friend who is connected to them. And what I like about them is that they took the chance to be themselves. Now, all of the podcasts is talking about hip hop and all of the, trendy Black stuff, but here is this one podcast talking about anime, different topics which you just cannot say in your local neighborhood, right? I mean, you're just not. I was telling the youth, you're not going to go in the hood and say at 25th and Lehigh, which is in Philly, and say, yo, I love Dragon Ball Z. I love, you can't do it. She understands what I'm saying. And so, again, here is a podcast that I really think is going to grow in a few years because they took a chance to really find a niche market that nobody was talking to. And so that was just one of the things that I think was important that I give you before I go. So now I'm going to get into my poem, okay? And then I get out your way. One of the things is with poetry is I want to, which I think in podcasts you do the same, is attack different topics as it relates to your podcast, but as it relates to the people. And so this poem called Be Yourself, I wanted to really get down into shows that I used to watch, right? And then put it into a poem and then try to relate it to the people. And so when you're doing podcasts or whatever it is you do, make sure that it has the balance of entertainment, knowledge, and then you can market that over and over again. And guys, like I'm telling you right now, consistency, right? If the podcast ain't getting no views for 2 years, it's 2 years. Some of people are saying that brands take 7 years to build. So please do not give up too fast. Now, if it's your year 21 and you're not getting no views, then maybe. But if you're in year 2, it's not working out, keep striving. Also, I also go to events where the podcasters or certain radio events are at events. So they're at, like say for example, I'll do a poetry event. I see a podcast or a blogger covering it. So they're almost acting like press to market their podcast. I think that's an amazing idea that I don't see a lot of podcasters doing. They're just uploading their podcast and then trying to sell it to you. But I believe, and most people, anybody here that's like politics, they understand, do not forget about the ground game. You have to do your ground game, which is your local people in local events. Okay, So Be Yourself is going to be a couple of shows, and we'll go down them, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about, okay? That's good? Yeah. Well. Thank you, Joe, for having me. There was a guy named Urkel. Glasses, 2 times the width of his face, checkered shirt, candy apple red suspenders. And he wanted a girl named Laura, but Laura couldn't see. He was as bright as an active galactic nuclei. Who am I? His whole soul shine like one of those embers. Now, he didn't believe he could get Laura, though. So he ended up creating a liquid plastic surgery. And when he started to drink, his whole body started to shake like he was in the blender. Do you remember? Well, that's why I came here today. Some of y'all are dating and talking to people that's like Laura, when you should be dating and talking to people that's like Myra. See, Myra came on the show and said, Urkel, you don't need a liquid, you don't need a machine. You don't need to use your brain that was given to you by God to be in the lab, to do the math, to quadruple or triple your cool genes. She said, I love you for who you are. Big behind glasses and high water jeans. Well, I thought I would come to Atlantic City today to remind somebody in this room to be themselves, but maybe y'all still don't feel me. Well, there was a show called Girlfriends. And on this show, there's this girl named Tony. Now, Tony is that girl that comes from the hood but swears she was raised in Malibu. Her insecurities can eat the protein from her toenails all the way up to her hair follicles, but I wish I had a projector, a PowerPoint presentation to put her on the poetic module. Tony thought it was a good idea to get Botox. And for her face, that was unfortunate. You see, Botox is a little toxin. Shots went to her forehead, made her eyebrows go up like a roller coaster. Made her whole face look disproportionate. Well, I want you to go home because there's this show on E! Network. I don't know if it's still on there, but it was called, The Doctors was on there, and they said they had women on there who was getting these surgeries done. And you would see them trying to fix themselves up. Well, women, I come to tell you that you can't Doctor Strange your body, which means you can't Doctor Strange your mind, you can't Doctor Strange who you are, which means you cannot manipulate hours and milliseconds when it comes to your human clock. But I thought I would come to Atlantic City today to remind somebody in this room to be themselves, but maybe y'all still don't feel me. Well, there was a show called Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And there's this guy named Will and Carlton, right? And they're trying to join this fraternity. And there's this frat brother. Jealousy starts to eat the meat of his soul like salmonella. See, they had Carlton on the floors with rags and toothbrushes, like he was a black bearded Cinderella. But his work ethic was impeccable. The way he carried himself, it was way past stellar. Now, if y'all watch that episode, go on YouTube. The people that was watching, they was caught in the jam. See, it was the first time they saw a black man arguing with another black man about being black. And the crowd didn't understand, but Carlton did. He said, this is the way that I dress. He said, this is how much money I'm getting. He said, I'm not trying to be black. Black is what I am, which means no devil, no Jesus, no angel could ever walk my journey. No hood, no poetic venue. Make sure you tell every high school senior in America today not to change themselves for no fraternity. Well, I thought I would come to Atlantic City today to remind somebody in this podcast conference to be themselves, but maybe y'all still don't feel me. Well, I gotta get out of here. But there was this girl named K. Michelle. I want y'all to go on YouTube. I want you to look this up. This is good for those who don't know who K. Michelle is, because this is a life lesson. K. Michelle. She goes, I'm in my bed, y'all. I'm not gonna lie, I gotta tell y'all this visual. So I'm in my bed. I'm on my right side, comforter on my left side, crust in my left eye as I scroll down the right side. And I saw K. Michelle. She was on the reel. She says, I'm not gonna lie, I thought by getting a bigger butt, I would get bigger love. Let me say this again. I was in my bed. I was on my right side, comforter on my left side, crust in my left eye as I scrolled down the right side. And I was watching this interview, and K. Michelle said, I thought by getting the bigger butt, I would get bigger love. She says, my whole body, it started to ache. She says, I'm not gonna lie, I thought that I had lupus. But that's what happens when some of us are on Facebook and Instagram, not really showing who we are. We're just trying to be the cutest. Well, I thought I would come to Atlantic City today in this podcast conference to remind somebody in this room to be themselves. Hopefully, you start to feel me. Thank you.